Good morning and welcome to Flow and Let Go. We're going to start our practice this morning, recline flat on our backs, and make sure that you have a block or two handy. You'll need one right at the start. So go ahead and make your way flat onto your back. And we're going to start with knees bent, lifting the hips up nice and high and just placing our block on its lowest height directly under the sacrum. So this nice big flat bone that connects your hips to your spine. And then just see what it might feel like to start to lengthen the legs out long. And if that's comfortable, this is where we'll start. If there's any discomfort in this variation here, bend into your knees and allow the inner knees to rest on one another. So almost like a little teepee, the feet come wide and the knees rest inwards on one another. And then take your arms either up and overhead or wide out to the sides, as if we could drape the entire body over top of this block. And connect with your breath, deepening your inhales and lengthening your exhales, and really just starting to arrive here in this beautiful body of yours on this beautiful morning, linking your breath with your body. And starting to allow your awareness to settle into the observation of the breath. Taking the first few moments just to relax the mind as you drape the body over top of the support of the bolster or the block. Allow the belly to fill and empty with the breath. And just start to ask the rest of the things that might be weighing on your mind or lingering in the back of your mind, just to step aside for this next hour. There's nothing we can do about any of those things at this time. And so just asking the mind to be fully present to this moment in its totality. Every single breath we should be aware of. If you find yourself at any given moment unaware of your breath, it's likely thought has crept back in. And so when you discover this, just return to the awareness of the breath. Notice what it feels like in your body to be in this position. Finding a breath that is deep and wide. And a long, slow, steady exhale. This morning we are going to focus our practice just around the movement of the spine. Taking another few breaths here. Last 3. In through the nose. And out through the nose. And very slowly starting to re-bend the knees if the legs are straight. Walking the soles of the feet nice and close so that we can lift the hips up high. And I want you to hold the hips up high here now, removing your block and placing it off to the side. And then planting the palms and forearms flat down onto the mat. Let's see if we can lift just a little higher, maybe even lifting your heels here to help alleviate any tension in the low back. Finding your breath. And very, very slowly starting to lower the hips down. And we'll bring the knees into the belly for a nice big hug here, really kind of finding the opposite of that posture as we start to lengthen the low back, pulling the legs in. And we'll take our time from here to rock up and down along the spine, coming all the way up to seated and making our way into straight legs, moving extra flush away from the sit bone so that we can ground the body down. And your blocks are handy if you need them here. If your legs feel really tight this morning, what can be helpful is either a block or a rolled up blanket just underneath the knees to help to support the legs from going too straight as we open up for this first forward fold. Now take your palms and place them beside your hips for staff pose. Lifting the heart, drawing the shoulders back and down, and really trying to press the base of the palms into the mat. They may not reach depending on how long the torso is. We want to press down firmly as if we were trying to lift the sit bones right up off the mat here. Keep your heart lifting like it's proud, drawing the shoulders back, squeezing shoulders together, and softening your chin towards your chest. Pull your toes back towards your shins into a flex. And on your inhale, sweep your arms to the sky. As you exhale, begin to reach towards the toes. And then just allow the hands to land wherever they land. Finding a really nice kind of opposite to that first opening posture here, stretching through that low back as we fold. Now, if you have a block handy and it would be helpful, you can place it on top of your shins and maybe rest your forehead on the block. You might even turn the palms towards the sky here, resting the arms heavily. And just starting to breathe into any and all sensation that you discover here in and along the spine or the back line of the body. And your breath becomes even more important here. As you deepen your inhales, you start to increase the amount of feedback that you'll get from your body to really tell you what exactly is going on, where the tension is. And so allow your breath to deepen on the inhale. Surrendering the weight of your upper body down to the lower body. And either just hanging that head heavy, maybe licking the lips and swallowing, nodding yes and no, or pressing the forehead down into the block. Noticing the level of discomfort that is present here, and see if we can override that by placing our awareness on the breath. Deepening the inhales and lengthening the exhales. We'll be here for a little longer than we would like to be, so just surrender, settle in. Allow the breath to be fluid and not stagnant, so it's constantly moving in and out, constantly in flux. And we're going to move through a little bit of a a different sequence this morning. We're going to move through kind of alternations between flow and let go, so that as we create a little bit of feedback in the body with these restorative postures, then we'll start to move into more of a flow. And back and forth and on we go, because we want to support the spine and its most optimal range of motion, and its most optimal function. Big breath in here. And as you exhale, very, very slowly start to make your way all the way back up to seated. Have both of your blocks handy, placing them just off to one side for now. Now we'll take the hands about one of our own hand length behind our hip line. And from here, we start to lean back into the hands. Keep your legs grounded, pull your toes back towards your shins into a flex. And on your inhale, press into your hands and your fingertips, lift your heart, draw your shoulder blades together, and see if you can sort of press your heart forwards towards your feet. Gaze just slightly to where the wall meets the ceiling, not dropping the head back here. Big breath in. And as we exhale, release, come back up. We're going to set up our blocks behind us in a little bit of an L shape. So your bottom block will be on its medium height, and the top block will be behind it on its tallest height. And from here, we want to start to find that this first edge of the lower block kind of hits us like right at where the bra strap would be, or right kind of in between or below the shoulder blades. And as we recline down, we'll find that that block does come in between the shoulder blades. And then the second block, we may move a little further away to support the back of the head, allowing the toes to drift off to the side, allowing the palms of the hands to face upward. And then just breathing into this beautiful open heart. The heart is propped up here. And it feels, for most of us, very easeful to breathe. So just noticing the sensation of breathing here as you allow your shoulder blades to drape over top of the block. And if you notice that there are thoughts in your mind and you're not aware of your breath, come back to your breathing, just a simple awareness, nothing else to notice except the breath and the way that it feels to breathe in your body. Relax your jaw and all of the muscles of your face, heavy your shoulders. And just breathe into that beautiful open heart. Resting the body down heavily. If your back muscles are a little tender like mine, this also becomes a little bit like a self-massage as we have the lower block really kind of press down on some of those large back muscles. And so as we breathe in, we can feel the feedback of the muscles pressing against the edges of the block. Just allow the body to be heavy here. Taking our time to really move into some movement, some flow this morning. Because the spine is such a delicate thing. This is the place where not only our entire nervous system, the computer hub of the body, is located and does its operations from, this information highway that runs up and along the spine, but it's also where our energetic highway runs, the more subtle anatomy of the body, the energetics, running in a very similar way as the lymphatic system, as the circulatory system, as the nervous system. Most ancient yogis and gurus would say that the health and vitality of a person is determined by how supple their spine is. And so this is such a emphasis in ancient yoga practices. We'll take our last 3 breaths here, really deep breaths in and long breaths out. Inhaling fully. And with our exhale, begin to bend into your knees. You might begin here to peel your chin towards your chest and reach your hands for your legs, maybe behind the knees, to help pull the body upright. And we'll place our blocks towards the top of our mat so that they're handy as we need them, moving into tabletop position and meeting on all fours. Wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. And on our inhale, begin to drop the belly low as we lift the tailbone high, almost like we were pouring the bowl of our pelvis forward, spilling out onto the floor. Think about widening or broadening the chest or collarbone area and drawing shoulders back, shining the heart forward. As we exhale, press into hands and knees, tuck the tail in around the spine, taking the chin towards the chest. Cat pose. Inhale, lift the tailbone, pour the pelvis, drop the belly low, and spread the heart wide. Exhale to round the spine. Again, inhale, lifting the tail, drawing the heart forward, belly low. Exhale, round the spine. Moving through 3 more variations in your own way. It can be a really nice feeling to add a little side to side movement here, almost as if you could just explore the parameters of your body. What does it feel to move my body in these ways? Every movement almost acting like a little bit of self-inquiry. Where am I stuck and tight and tender? I won't know until I find those places. And once you've finished your very last one, we'll meet in a neutral tabletop. And from here, we'll sit the hips back towards the heels with toes tucked. Walk the hands forward about 1 hand length, and then begin to pick the knees up off the mat, finding your very, very first downward facing dog. Bending into one knee and then the other as we make space in the backs of the legs, the sides of the body. And your first downward dog should be full of authentic movement, whatever you feel is necessary to make space in the body. And if you have no idea, just move and see what it feels like. It could be lifting your heels really, really high and offering your heart towards your legs. It could be lowering your heels down and maybe peeling your toes up off the mat. Or maybe we shift forwards to plank and backwards to downward dog, just finding any and all movement that supports the waking up of the body, that supports the lengthening of the muscles. Pressing into the thumb and the index fingers to make sure that we're holding all of our weight in the right way. Shifting hips back towards the heels. On our next breath in, look forward, soften your knees, and begin to step to the top of your mat. Forward fold, belly to thighs here, bending knees as much or as little as needed. On the inhale, hands to your shins. Lift halfway and really think about keeping your gaze down towards your toes, sliding your shoulders back as if you were trying to bring your heart forward. Exhale, fold, belly to thighs. Inhale, arms rise all the way up. And exhale, hands to heart center. Release the palms. Inhale, arms rise. Exhale, fold, hinging from the hips, bringing your belly to your thighs. Inhale, hands to shins, halfway lift. And exhale, fold, plant your hands and step back to plank pose here. Bringing the knees down, tucking the tail, and zipping the navel back towards the spine. Inhale, look forward to the top of your mat. And exhale, lower down, elbows squeezing the ribs as you come all the way to the belly. Untuck your toes and engage the legs here, pressing the tops of the feet down into the mat and placing palms under shoulders. Inhale, press into your hands to lift shoulders up into cobra. So shoulders are moving up, back, and down. And exhale, lower your forehead towards the mat. Now take your fingertips wider than your mat, in line with shoulders, and bring your elbows up to the sky. Let's take another cobra pose variation from here. Inhale, press into your fingers. Lift your heart forward. Exhale, lower down. Let's take another cobra variation, placing your palms right underneath your shoulders. But then on your next inhale, hover the palms and lift the shoulders, finding your cobra. Exhale, lower sliding palms beside ribs, tuck the toes and send your hips back, child's pose. Downward facing dog. Connecting with your breath as we start moving into a little bit of flow. Ujjayi breath is what we are looking for. That audible exhale through the nose, as if we were trying to fog up a pane of glass, but with the mouth closed. Now from here, we're gonna move through a little funky drill. It's kind of like our cat-cow variations, but moving from plank to downward dog. So take a moment just to look forward and see what I mean. From downward facing dog, we're gonna take our cat pose. We'll inhale to lift the heels high, and then think about rounding the spine and coming forwards to a rounded plank. From here, we'll exhale, lower the knees to hover, lift the tailbone like cow pose, and press the body back to downward facing dog. Are you ready? Inhale, lift the heels, round the spine, come forward to a rounded plank. Exhale, hover the knees, lift the tailbone, find your cow pose as you press back, downward dog. Inhale, lift the heels, round the spine, come forward to a rounded plank. Exhale, hover the knees, lift the tail, heart forward as we press back, downward dog. One more just like this. Lift the heels, round the spine, come forward, rounded plank. Exhale, hover the knees, lift the tail, heart forward, press back, downward facing dog. You're still breathing in and out through your nose here. And on your next inhale, look forward, soften your knees and step or hop to the top of your mat, forward fold, belly to thighs. Inhale, hands to shins, lifting halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms rise all the way up. And exhale, hands to heart center. Release the palms. Inhale, arms rise. Exhale, fold. Inhale, hands to shins, straight spine. Exhale, fold, plant your hands, step back to plank, knees down or straight legs, your choice. As we exhale, lower, squeeze the ribs with your elbows. Come all the way to the belly for cobra, or keep thighs lifted for upward facing dog. Breathe in. Exhale, send your hips back, downward dog. On your next breath in, lift your right leg to the sky. And as you exhale, pull the right knee into your belly, round your spine, and step, hop, or help that right foot between the hands. Let's lower the back knee down. Untuck the back toes. And press the top of the left foot down into the mat. Inhale, arms rise. Low lunge. Really shifting your hips forward here. Now find a nice big breath in. And as you exhale, reach your right hand back. And we're either going to take the back of the hand to the low back, or we're going to reach for the outer edge of the left leg. Wherever we find ourselves, take your gaze forward. Inhale, lift your gaze towards your left fingertips. And then place your left hand at the back of your head, exhaling to lean back. So a little bit of balance here. Really press the top of your left foot down into the mat. And find this really active opening back bend. Big breath in. And as we exhale, release the hands and plant them down. Now we're going to tuck the left toes, plant both hands, and we're going to step the right foot back to plank, rolling over onto the outer edge of the right foot for side plank. Left arm rises, and from here, we're just going to lift the left foot and step it behind the right leg. So we've got a sturdy balance with that left foot. Now I want you to take your left hand behind your head and think about drawing left elbow over to the right as we lift the hips into a gentle variation of wild thing. Are you breathing? Big breath in. And then look down, exhale, come right back to plank pose. Knees down or straight legs. Exhaling to lower all the way to the belly for cobra. Or hover for your upward facing dog. Inhale. Exhale, send the hips back. Downward facing dog. Return to that Ujjayi breath. Return to your awareness being fixed on the breath. And with your next breath in, left leg rises. Exhale, left knee draws inwards, round the spine, and step hop or help left foot between the hands. Bring your back knee down to the mat and untuck your right toes, pressing the top of the right foot down into the mat. Inhale, arms rise. And sink your hips down here. Now already when we find ourselves in lunge positions, the spine does naturally begin to go towards the back bend. And so we just want to support and maybe ask for a bit of depth to what's already happening in the spine. So press that right foot down firmly. And then you'll take your left hand and you're either going to reach the back of the hand towards the low back, or see if we can slide the left fingers towards the outside of the right leg. Take your right hand to the back of your head. Inhale. And as you exhale, just start to lean back, supporting the weight of the head with the right hand. And breathing in and out as you press into the top of the right foot, the front left foot. Big breath in. And as we exhale, release the arms down towards the mat. Tuck the right toes, lift the right knee, and step back, plank pose. Rolling over onto the outer edge of the left foot for side plank here, right arm rises. And we'll just lift that right foot enough to bend the knee and step the foot behind the left leg. Right hand comes to the back of the head. And then I want you to think about taking right elbow towards the left as we lift the hips, finding our own variation of wild thing. Kamakasana. Notice all of the little sensations that are present here, maybe the lengthening of the hip flexors, the obliques. Big breath in. And as we exhale, look down, find plank pose. Big breath in. And exhale to move through our vinyasa, elbows to the ribs coming to the belly, or upward facing dog on the inhale. Exhale, downward dog. From here, let the knees come down, untuck the toes, and find child's pose. Now I want to start with a very active child's pose. So kind of using your fingers to crawl the arms as long as they can be, so that even the wrists and forearms are lifted away from the mat. Finding that beautiful long lengthening sensation for the spine. And then allow your breath to be what adds depth to your pose. Deepening your inhales and lengthening your exhales. Notice the breath, notice how the body is feeling, and any other feedback that you might be getting from the body here. Now, on your next inhale, lift your gaze forward and start to come onto your fingertips, lifting the palms and wrists away from the mat. From here, we'll begin to walk both hands all the way over to the right side, as far right as we can go safely and comfortably. And then exhale, start to just release into a side child's pose. And breathing into the spine as it curves to the side. Maybe placing the top of your left hand either on your forearm, wrist, or right hand. And breathing deeply here. Nice big breath in. And as we exhale, look up, walk hands back through center, and then all the way over to the left side, as far as left as we can safely and comfortably travel. And then exhale into your child's pose on the other side. Again, maybe taking the right palm towards left forearm, wrist, or top of the left hand. Allowing your breath to flow in and out through the nose. Inhale fully. And with the exhale, look up, walk hands right back to center, and then walk hands towards knees so that we can arrive in this place where we're seated on our heels. From here, we'll lift the hips up into kneeling and tuck the toes behind us. You're going to take both hands and place them at the low back. So not quite in the curvature of the low back, but towards the sacrum, just above the glutes. And you should feel a nice big flat bone there that we're not pressing into the spiny vertebrae of the spine. Lift your shoulders up, back, and down. Really find that active posture. Now, for many of us, the upper spine doesn't move as much as the lower. So this action of shoulders moving up, back, and down, this might be as far as we go. So honor your spine. There's never any pain when we're working with the spine. We're going to find an inhale here. And with the exhale, let's see what it might feel like to gently push the hips slightly forward while dropping shoulders slightly back. And we want to make sure that as we drop the shoulders back, that we're not taking the hips back with us. That puts way more strain on the low back. So you really want to make sure hips are pushing forward. And it's almost this action of hips coming forward that allows the shoulders to come back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Sink your gaze up towards where the wall meets the ceiling and breathe deeply. In and out through the nose. Big breath in. And as we exhale, start to rise. Untuck the toes and sit the hips back towards the heels, placing palms on top of the thighs. And from here, seated on your heels in this way, it just helps for the spine to kind of recalibrate. One of the tendencies that we tend to make, and it's an error, is right away when we do a back bending posture, we tend to want to take the complete opposite and round the spine. Now, that's okay with cat-cow variations, but something like Ustrasana, that camel pose that we just did, our best bet is to allow the spine to neutralize before we would ever attempt to round it out, because we move the discs in between the vertebrae when we back bend. So if we move into one extreme to the next, we can really cause issues, maybe even a slipped disc. And so safety and a neutral spine is always the best bet before taking a counter posture. We're going to find this Ustrasana camel pose one last time. And so when you're ready, starting to rise up, tucking the toes, and finding that sacrum bone where we can plant the hands. Lifting the shoulders up, back, and down. Big breath in. And as you exhale, really think about tucking your tail and pushing it forward. And you should feel your glutes fire here to protect the low back as you shift your hips forward and drop your shoulders back, any amount. Now, if back bending is something that feels really good in your body, and it's something that is a big part of your practice already, you might even be able to reach your hands towards your heels. Now, the idea is that we don't reach the hands towards the heels and compromise the hips moving backwards. We want to keep those hips moving forwards and stacking the knees. And so wherever you find yourself, last 3 breaths, really deep, in and out through the nose. And if you've reached for the heels, place your hands back on the sacrum and very slowly start to rise all the way upright, untucking the toes and sitting the hips back towards the heels, placing palms on top of the thighs, and just allowing the spine to recalibrate itself. Shoulders dropping down away from ears. I'm finding about 5 breaths here as deeply as you can, really being mindful of what the low back is feeling. And very slowly, we'll begin to counter this posture by walking the knees closer together. And then starting to fold over top of the knees into a rounded child's pose. We might bring our forehead to a block or to the mat. And then walk the hands behind so that they kind of lay next to the legs, palms to the sky. And allow your breath to be firm, moving deeply into the body. You can start to feel the way that the breath expands the spine, expands the body. And if it feels good, you might even take one hand to the low back and the other hand on top, just allowing the arms to hang heavy. Deepening the inhales and lengthening the exhales. Last 3 breaths. Just allowing the body to be heavy and to rest. Last big breath in.
And as you exhale, start to walk your arms forward into child's pose, lifting the hips, tucking the toes, and finding your way into downward facing dog.
Really focus here on pressing the thumbs and the index fingers down as you lift the hips and send them back. Getting a nice long lengthening sensation for the whole of the side body and spine.
When you're ready, on your next breath in, look forward, soften your knees and step or hop to the top of your mat. Forward fold, belly to thighs. Go ahead and grab onto opposite elbows here and just allow your head, neck, and shoulders to hang really, really heavy, resting the full weight of your belly on your thighs with your knees as bent as they need to be. And really breathing deeply as if you could offer a little bit of space in between each of your vertebrae. Nod your head, yes and no. Lick your lips and swallow, relaxing your jaw. And then start to allow your arms to hang heavily down towards the ground, taking the weight of the body in towards the heels, and beginning to drag the upper body all the way upright, bone by bone by bone, moving slowly with no rush, just enjoying the way that that feels.
From standing, we'll meet in Tadasana, turning the palms forwards. And on our next breath in, bend into your knees, sink your hips low, sweep your fingertips forwards. Utkatasana chair pose. Now, this is not your everyday average chair pose. We're going to find a little bit of fun for the spine here. So on your next inhale, you're going to bend your elbows back into goddess and lift your heart, lift your tailbone. And on your exhale, you're going to reach forward, tuck your tail, and round the spine, bringing your chin to your chest. Now you can add an element of balance and difficulty to this on your next inhale by lifting your gaze, bending your elbows, and lifting your heels. Finding your back bend. And then exhale to lower the heels, tuck the tail, round the spine, chin to chest, arms forward. 3 more. Inhale, bend the elbows. Lift the heart. Maybe the tailbone and the heels lift. Exhale, lower the heels, tuck the tail, reach forward, round the spine. 2 more. Inhale, bend the elbows, lift the heels, lift the tailbone, squeeze the shoulders together. Exhale, heels lower, tail tucks, reach forward, chin to chest. Last time, bending arms into that goddess shape. Lift the tailbone, lift the heels. Exhale, lower the heels, tuck the tail, reach forward, chin to chest. Inhale, hands to heart center. And exhale, fold forward. And just allow your body to hang heavy here. Belly towards thighs. 3 breaths. And once again, very slowly starting to drag the arms all the way up to standing. Now, stepping somewhere into the middle of your mat, we're going to look down and lift and spread the left toes. Moving into just a bit of balance before we close our practice. So lifting and spreading the left toes, softening through the left knee. We never want to lock out the joint that we're balancing on. And bring your hands to your hips. Begin to shift your weight onto your left foot and bend into your right knee, bringing your heel towards your glute and reaching right hand to grab a hold of it. Left hand might move to your heart. And you've got an option. If balance is not your thing today, then stay here as you are. And what you can do instead is you can reach both hands for your right foot and really think about finding that back bend as you draw the shoulders back. If we're ready to play with dancer, grabbing hold of that right foot, left hand to the heart, we'll start to kick that right foot back into the right hand and maybe extend left hand forward. Now remember that balance is not a destination. We will never get there. Instead, we commit to readjusting constantly, moment to moment, as the ankle moves to and fro, as we really sort of balance out this idea of shifting our weight by pressing the foot into the hand and lengthening the left arm to balance. Big breath in wherever you are. And as you exhale, slowly, slowly rise. Releasing right foot, hands together at the heart. Let's just take a moment to stand, neutralizing the spine. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Again, inhale through the nose and sigh it out. Last round of breath, inhale here and release. Right hand to the heart. Lifting and spreading the right toes, softening the bend into the right knee. So it doesn't have to be a big bend, but just not locked at the knee. And then begin to pull left heel towards left glute, reaching left hand to grab a hold. So again, you have the option to take both hands behind your back. This is a great option if you are working on the full expression of dancer. To begin to kick the foot into the hands. Otherwise, take the right hand to the heart. Big breath in. And as we exhale, kick left foot into left hand, reaching right arm forward to balance as the legs draw back. And that left knee will lift as high as you like, as you navigate this idea of balance, this readjusting that's happening at the ankles. Find a drishti or a focal point, something right in front of you that's not moving, that you can find focus and balance. Big breath in. And very, very slowly return to center, releasing that left foot down. Find one last final flow, stepping towards the top of our mat, releasing our palms. Inhale, arms rise, lift your gaze. Exhale, fold forward, belly to thighs. Inhale, hands to shin, straight spine. Exhale, fold, plant the hands, step back to plank. Big breath in your plank pose, knees down or straight legs. Exhale to move through either all the way to the belly for cobra or upward facing dog. Inhaling. And exhale. We'll meet in child's pose. Reconnecting to your breath here. Deepening your inhales. And maybe sighing the exhales out through the mouth. Allow the body to be heavy here. Allow the breath to normalize. And when you're ready, we'll lift the gaze forward, come down onto our forearms here, and begin to lift the hips and tuck the toes, sitting the hips back towards the heels. Now we're going to move into rabbit pose. So if you have your hair on the top of your head, just slide it back a little bit so that we can bring the crown of the head down towards the mat. And you want the forehead as close to the knees as you can manage. Crown of the head coming towards the mat. And reach the hands back to either grab a hold of the heels if that's available, or just place them on top of the mat. When you're ready, inhale to lift your hips high. Now, if you have a hold of the heels, you'll get a little bit of traction to kind of move against, a little bit of resistance. But just looking to round out the spine here. Minimal pressure on the head. Most of that pressure is in the knees and the toes. Big breath in. And exhale, lower down. All the way up to seated on your heels. And swing legs out to one side. So we can extend the legs forward once again. Removing any extra flesh. We're going to find that same forward fold to see if there's any difference in our first forward fold to the one that we have now. So first starting off in staff pose, taking hands beside the hips, taking shoulders back and down, pulling toes towards shins and a flex, and really trying to press the hands down in towards the mat so that we can lift the heart. Your next breath in, lift your arms to the sky. And as you exhale, reach forward and begin to fold, letting your hands just land and heavying the head and shoulders over top of the legs. Allow the body to hang heavily here. And again, maybe even using a block to rest the forehead. Notice if you are able to come a little further this time than in the first one. Allow your breath to flow freely, expanding and contracting the ribs. We're going to hold this forward fold probably a little longer than we want to, and so just settle in here for a moment. Release any tension in your jaw, soften all the muscles of your face, hang your head, neck, and shoulders really heavily. Or maybe lick your lips and swallow, releasing the jaw. Maybe nod your head yes and no. Deepening the inhales and lengthening the exhales. Last big breath in. And as we exhale, walk hands back towards the hips, coming right back up to a nice tall seat. And we'll shift forward, taking one block with us. And coming all the way down onto the back. Resting the back of the head down and walking the heels in nice and close that we might be able to tickle the heels with our fingertips. And then reach for your block. And you're going to lift and tuck each shoulder blade down underneath your back. On your inhale, press into your feet to lift the hips. And I want you to lift them as high as they will go naturally, whether you have to lift your heels or not. And then take your block and find the most appropriate height that offers a little bit of challenge perhaps, or at least just sustains this natural lift to your hips. And then rest the hips down on the block. Just rest here in this really passive position for the body, for the spine. allowing the whole body to be heavy as we rest down on the block. And on our next breath in, lift and hover your hips above your block. Taking that block off to the sides. And I want you to come down from this elevation of the hips, starting with your upper back. So think about even maybe lifting your arms towards the sky and lowering the space between your shoulders, and then bone by bone by bone by bone, all the way down until the last thing to land are your hips and sacrum. Take your arms overhead and your feet wide, knees bent, and drop both knees over to the right. Find 3 breaths here. Alternatively, we can move a little bit faster from left to right, whatever feels the most supportive. And if you've lingered on the right side, on your exhale, you can start to shift both knees over to the left. Otherwise, continuing the motion if you prefer, almost like windshield wiper movements for the legs. One last big breath in. And exhale, knees back through center, drawing both of them into the belly for a nice big hug. And maybe rocking and rolling up and down along the spine or side to side. Releasing the effort of your breath now. And preparing to find your way into the most comfortable Shavasana. And that doesn't always have to be classically flat on your back. If child's pose felt really nice this morning, maybe you spend Shavasana there. Taking any additional movements that the body might need before you settle into your final resting pose. As you settle in, lick your lips and swallow. And take a deep breath in, sighing it out the mouth. Allow the full weight of your body to rest heavily down into the mat. Keeping your awareness gently fixed on the breath. trying to bring your awareness back to your body. Inviting some gentle movements in through your fingers and toes. Notice the sensation of the breath. Feel the air moving in and out of your body. Notice how the chest and abdomen expand and contract slightly with the in and out breath. One conscious breath is enough to make some space where before there was the uninterrupted succession of one thought after another. One conscious breath, 2 or 3 would be even better. Taken many times a day is an excellent way of bringing space into your life. Even if you meditated on your breathing for 2 hours or more, which some people do, one breath is all you ever need to be aware of, indeed, ever can be aware of. The rest is memory or anticipation, which is to say thought. Breathing isn't really something that you do, but something that you witness as it happens. Breathing happens by itself. The intelligence that animates the body is doing it. All you have to do is watch what's happening. There is no strain or effort involved. Also notice the brief sensation of the breath, particularly the still point at the end of the out breath before you start breathing again. We'll place one hand on your heart and the other hand on top. We'll close our practice by offering the Sanskrit mantra for peace to ourselves, to the ones in our lives, and to the world at large. Breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Breathing in, you can repeat aloud or silently in your mind's eye, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. Thank you so much for taking the time for yourself to make space in your life for practice. And I hope to see you again really soon.